So somebody asked me to make a follow-up video. What we have on the left is the ASUS ProArt 6K PA32 QCV and the LG UltraFine 6K display on the right. We just had a child this past Thursday, welcomed our baby son Alexander, so apologies in advance. This is a lot less polished, and my thoughts are going to be less organized, but we'll try our best to communicate them and compare these two displays the best we can. If you're just here for the results, basically both panel qualities have been, quality assurance for both screens needs to be better. The LG is $2,000, this is close to $1,500. This is $2,200 after tax, $1,500 after tax. Both have had quality consistency issues. I had to send my first ProArt display back because this side was much brighter than this side, and the backlight was really bad here, and this side was much brighter, and my eyes were adjusting between the same screen. And this LG panel I'm sending back as well, and I'll show you shortly from the front. Basically the yellow middle, the colors look good like this, but there's a blue tint on the front that goes this way. I returned the first ProArt. I got a second one, and I'll make a video dedicated to reviewing the ProArt exclusively. But the second one is so good. If I had gotten this panel, this ProArt screen the first time around, my review video would have been entirely different. So I'm going to make a second review video talking about the ProArt and just elaborating what I observed with the second panel and, slightly adding to my first review video. And yeah, this LG, if you do this, you can see the bluish tint. So here, it looks beautiful on the ProArt. On the LG, you can see normal colors and then blue. This way. It's much more pronounced in person than it is on video, but you can still see it on video here. And this is a $2,000 screen. My $200 screens don't have this issue. You can see the blue go along this way. It is wild. In a nutshell, when they are displaying colors, as you can see on the static wallpaper, they both look spectacular. Resolution, A+ on both monitors. It's funny because on this video, it looks like these two colors are pretty close and the BenQ is different, or the ASUS is different. But actually the ASUS, I'm looking at them in person right now, and these colors are nearly identical because the ASUS has an M color mode, whereas the LG looks different and less close to the MacBook Pro screen. Brightness wise, the ASUS takes this cake. They're rated very similarly, but looking at the screens now, in my personal experiences, it's no competition. ASUS takes the cake here. I like the controls more on the ASUS screen because, let me turn on the lights. I like the controls a lot more on the ASUS ProArt screen because they're right here on the front. You can access everything, you can change all the settings you need, everything is super easy. And on the LG, you have to reach around on the bottom here and do that kind of stuff, and it's a lot more cumbersome to do so. Both have good unboxings. The LG is packaged in styrofoam, the ASUS is packaged in cardboard. Both get them to you safely. Something I like about the ASUS, power supply is directly integrated. You can see the LG has a nice flat design. ASUS curves like this, but the power supply is integrated, and the amount of brightness this gets, this is wonderful. LG has a massive power supply here for 360 watts. It doesn't heat up that much, but this screen has vents and they blow warm air. Both have great connectivity. You get your HDMI, DisplayPort, Thunderbolt 4, USB-C, USB-A headphone on the ASUS, and the LG gets a similarly nice input-output, but without a headphone jack output here. What I will note is that if we look at our Pro Display XDR, the small details matter because it's Apple. And the Thunderbolt cable is oriented vertically, so it's less likely if you press down on it to break. Turning our attention to LG, this USB-C is connector is much easier, Thunderbolt connector is much easier to push up and down and damage the connector. Non-existent issue on the ProArt because you pull down, it slides right out. Also perfect, acceptable solution. What the heck is going on here? Let's talk about the stands. ProArt stand is great. Plastic. This is metal, but this is plastic. Couldn't care less about these stands. This one looks, it's designed, I'll say that. I'm not gonna say it looks better, because I kind of personally prefer this, but I don't care because I use vase mounts for these. All these connectors are exposed here and have no support. Both stands offer rotation, so not really a difference there. The ASUS does offer swivel, and this LG is trying to copy the Pro Display and does not have swivel. They both go up and down, acceptable ranges. Both can be rotated 90 degrees, so great there. We'll say that the LG stand, the ASUS ProArt is easier to adjust. It's really easy to move up and down, one-handed operation. If you do that here, they tried to be the Pro Display, but turns out all the weight is here, and the Pro Display stand has a little nub in here so that things don't fall backwards. Well, the LG didn't think of that, so when you adjust it, it wants to if you're lifting up, it wants to fall backwards this way. And this stand, while it's designed to look like the XDR stand, is not easy to adjust. It's I can't do this with one hand. If I do, it tilts back. So just put a normal stand. Colors look great on both. I talked about the unboxing, talked about the power bricks. Yeah, talked about the QA issues. Let's talk about the matte coatings. So the matte coating is a little bit more aggressive on the ASUS because they use a thing called Lux Pixel. But while the first panel I got had a smeared on, kind of like a smeared on effect to it, I observed it much less pronounced. It was much more carefully applied, if that makes sense. Looks like on this one. On my first panel, I would observe vertical smears in the matte coating. So it really makes me think maybe I really honestly just got a bad ASUS panel, because this Lux Pixel, you can tell the coating is there, but it is a lot less intrusive than the first time around, which is bizarre. The LG has a similar matte coating, surprisingly, to Lux Pixel, and confusingly. You also really notice this matte coating when you're up close, which you're going to do because it's a 6K display, right? When you're staring at the white parts, there's a little shimmering effect here. So honestly, neither of these matte coatings are my favorite. My favorite are personally biased towards glossy screens, but if you're gonna go with matte, it's not like the LG Dual Up that has a nice matte coating. It's not like $200 screens matte's coating that it's matte, but you can still use the screen. These are both a little bit more shimmery. So I don't know if that's just the general direction monitors are going in. I'm not the biggest fan of Lux Pixel, but because the panel is better and it's actually carefully applied here, both are usable, but they are more aggressive than regular screens, if that makes sense. So they're pretty comparable, I'd say, in terms of matte coatings, long story short. So if you disregard the color consistency issue, I think, as I said, both screens have a panel lottery to play. You just buy one, return it. Speaking of returns, when you try to return this one, I reached out to LG about 5 business days ago. They said that they would respond in 2 days and have not gotten back to me. So if you're going to try to return this $2,000 screen with problems, you should be aware that you might have to deal with LG support as well. In a nutshell, I'm going to be gladly, excitedly keeping this for my workstation setup. I'm going to be returning the LG. I think it would have been, even at face value, I would have leaned towards the ASUS because it's cheaper. It has an integrated power brick. It doesn't have this causes concern for me. Even if there's a 300 something watt power supply inside, this is external power supply causes concern. The amount of heat exiting at the top of the LG causes concern. I did not observe similar heat here, but maybe I just need to play with it more. Great performance, but this one has slightly smarter design. Not necessarily better, but smarter design on this screen as well. I forgot to mention, I'll put in clips now. My first ASUS panel had really bad backlight bleed. This has barely any backlight bleed, if at all. The only inconsistency I observed is a small portion that is slightly, not even more blue, just minusculely darker if you're really looking for it. The LG does not have substantial backlight bleed, so I'm not sure why it has a blue perimeter around it. Let's take a look at the backlight now. So yeah, no observable backlight bleed issues. The camera is really exaggerating the backlighting here. No, the backlight looks terrifically even. So LG should be proud of themselves. If it weren't for this panel, I would be very, very impressed with the consistency of this backlight panel. Let's compare that to the ASUS, and you can see the camera is exaggerating some backlight bleed here and here. But in person, they're hardly visible. See, now I like shift around, it's just shadows and stuff. So no, both panels have good backlight consistency. Not what I observed with the first panel here. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Happy to elaborate on either of these screens. Again, this was a slightly less polished, slightly more disorganized version. But yeah, thanks for watching.